What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So today we're gonna break down UFC 87, Amanda Ribas versus Rose Namajunas, and then we also have Bellator versus PFL Champions Series, which is actually pretty stacked. But on the other hand, we got Rose Namajunas versus Amanda Ribas, another fight back at the Apex. Very mid card, co-main event, Carl Williams versus Justin Tafa. Like we always say, another boring heavyweight fight, top of the main card, just because they're heavyweights. But let's jump straight into the picks. So it wasn't the easiest week for picks, but I found two money line picks on the UFC card. First one we have Peyton Talbot against Cameron Simon. Really high on Peyton Talbot at the moment. I remember seeing him on Contender Series a little under a year ago, and he looked absolutely amazing. Let me just check who he fought. He went up against Tracy Cortez's brother, Reyes Cortez, who the UFC have given so many chances on that Contender Series, and he just can't seem to get a win. They obviously like him because Tracy's his brother, and Tracy's a big star and all that, but. Yeah, they haven't given him any easy matchups anyway. But anyway, Talbot, he's on a nice little streak right now. They didn't give him the easiest matchup against Cameron Simon, who is coming off a loss, but it was a very close decision against C-Rod, Christian Rodriguez. Before that, he got two finishes under decision. So he's 3-1 so far in the UFC, Cameron Simon, while Peyton is just 2-0. Um, yeah, what can you say? I just feel like Peyton's making the more improvements. Simon, solid all-rounder, good striking, good wrestling, good jits, but I feel like Peyton has the power advantage here, and he has the cardio, and he can just, and the physicality too. Like the boys get into the clinch, I feel like Peyton will be the one dictating, who's jockeying for position up against the fence. So I could also see this fight going long. Both boys Payne never been finished, Cameron never been finished. So probably the best way to play this would be Peyton money line or Peyton decision or play the overs. Because I can't really see this one finishing. And there's some good money line money on Peyton. He is minus 140 at the moment. I could see that going down closer to fight night. But yeah, that's the first of the money line picks. We have Peyton Talbot from Team Alpha Male. Next up, I'm going with Billy Q against Yusuf Zalal. Billy Q, he's been on a nice little run lately. Let me just have a quick look here. Yep. He's okay. So he's on a 1-fight win streak. But if you look at his losses, he only loses against the top 10 of the division. He got stopped by Edson Barboza. He lost the decision to Shane Burgos, and he dropped a close decision to Gavin Tucker. I remember watching that one. And he's 6-3 so far in the UFC. And he just looks really good. One thing that really impresses me about Billy Q is his cardio and his chin. Like, the guy does not get tired, and he can take all the shots and keep coming, which is such a tough task for Yusuf Zalal, who's a bit of a low power volume kickboxer. First time I remember seeing Yusuf Zalal was in his debut. Was it his debut? I know it was Ilir Tapuria's debut. No, it wasn't his debut. So Yusuf Zalal went 3-0 in the UFC to start against mid-level competition. Then he went 0-3 against some good guys, one of them being Ilir Tapuria. And then he got released and he bounced around the regional scene, picked up 4 straight wins. And now this is his first fight back in the UFC after 2 years. So it'll be interesting to see what he looks like. But I find it very hard to bet against Billy Q with the streak that he's on and the improvements he's making. His wrestling just looks absolutely on point at the moment. Like, once he pushes people up against the fence, it's very hard for them to stop that double leg takedown. So, second money line bet, we have Billy Q against Yusuf Zalal. All right. That brings us to the underdog of the week. So, it was actually pretty hard finding a decent underdog this week, but I have decided to go with Carl Moore against Corey Anderson. Bit of a risky underdog play this week, but I just feel like, Carl Moore, he's 4-0 now in Bellator. Um, he's fought some decent wrestlers and looked really good. In his last fight, he fought Alex Peralzi, and who's an incredible All-American NCAA decorated wrestler. And yeah, he was able to grind out a close decision there. Same with Carl Albertson, another great wrestler, was able to shut him down. So yeah, Corey, he's been looking all right in his last couple, but when he does lose, he tends to get finished. But Carl Moore hasn't been the biggest finisher in his last couple. He got a rear naked on Carl Albertson, but before that, he's got three decision wins in his last four. Besides that, rear naked. So yeah, I think not the worst play. Little small bit of action on Carl Moore against Corey Anderson, but the fight is also in Belfast, and Carl Moore is Irish, so if it goes to the judges' scorecards, there could be a greasy split decision, a bit of hometown cooking. We've seen that many, many times before, so I wouldn't be surprised. So yeah, I think you got to play the underdog on Carl Moore here. All right, and that brings us to the last two parlay pieces. So the two parlay pieces this week. Funny enough, they're both called Nate Kelly. So we're just gonna call him old Nate Kelly for this one, even though he's only 26. He is 4-0 in PFL right now with three finishes and one decision. And yeah, all first round submissions looking really, really good. Seasoned black belt, even at 26. Trains at a great gym, SPG Ireland. And his opponent, Viskas Singh Ruhil, 12-7. He is pretty sure he is 0-1 in PFL. And before that, he was on a 9-fight win streak on the Indian regional scenes, which isn't known as the hardest regional scene. But before that, his first 10 fights, he went 5-5, which it's not the worst, but it's a bit of an indicator. And then you see the guys that he beat after that 5-5 run, their records are 3-2, 4-3, 4-7, 0-1, 3-2, 0-0, 3-3. Like he's not fighting anybody with too much experience or anybody with that much of a winning record. So I also feel like Bellator know what they're doing with these matchups. Like the card is in Ireland, so they have a couple of Irish guys on the card. So obviously they want them to win because they want to give the fans some enjoyment. So you do see the odds reflect that in these fights. Nate Kelly nearly a 4-1 favorite at this point on Tuesday. In fight week, I could see him going to a 5-1 favorite by Friday. Um, so yeah, I don't see any way for Vikas to get the W here unless he's got a couple of wins by what is it again? Is it a rear naked? Yeah, he's got a lot of wins by rear naked. So unless some scenario he gets a scramble and can get to Nate's back, that's the only way I can really see him getting the W. But besides that, I would play Nate Kelly, parlay piece, Nate Kelly by submission, Nate Kelly inside the distance, whatever you like. Nate Kelly should be winning this fight. All right, and that brings us to the last parlay piece. Another Nate Kelly, but we're going to call this one Young Nate Kelly, only 19 years old. Bit of a name in the Irish MMA scene. People know him for that Conor McGregor Jose Aldo press conference from 2015 where he says to Dana, one day I'll be fighting in the UFC. So he's always and he's always like, I remember like years ago, he had, 20K Instagram followers when he was like 16, you know what I mean? Like people have always kind of had their eye on young Nate Kelly, wondering how he's going to turn out. And yeah, the PFL, he's still only an amateur, still hasn't made his professional debut, but it just goes to show PFL must really like this guy if they're putting him on a big card like this, even though it's only an amateur fight. You know, they're building his name, building his reputation, getting some eyes on him, getting him really nice matchups. Like his debut in the PFL was against a 1-3 fighter, which says everything. You know what I mean? Like they wanted to get the win there. And now this matchup, he's fighting a 2-3 guy, which same thing, losing record, you know, no, very obvious what the matchmakers were thinking when they put this one together, you know. First fight of the night, you know, get the Irish fans on board, get them a win, and kick the night off with a win for the Irish. So last parlay piece, we're going young Nate Kelly. And yeah, that's the top five picks of the week. Last week we went 3-1-1. The one no contest being that Brian Battle fight, which ended with an eye poke, which was a no contest. But so far, winning record, making money, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace, boys. Bye.